Just want to thank everybody for coming out this morning to help the Farmland Preservation Board celebrate their 20,000th acre. When this farm is dedicated, which I believe it's supposed to be dedicated in about a month or so, or preserved, it will be our 20,000th acre. And also this year we're celebrating 30 years of serving the community. So thank you very much. My name is Paul Bamitz-Reiter. I'm chairman of the board, the Preservation Board. Just a few things just to kind of let you know. We're going to have a number of speakers come up here in a little bit and talk a little bit about preservation of farmland in Lebanon County. And I just want to point out to you that we have the silent auction over here. So please go over and look at the items and make a bid if you feel so led. Though Craig did want me to tell you that you have to be here in order to collect your item if you have the winning bid, because he's not chasing anybody down. So, okay. All right. I think we'll just get right into our agenda at this point. And the first speaker is Randall Leisure, the Lebanon County Conservation District Chairman.
I'm first today, thanks. First of all, I just want to thank everybody for coming. Can everybody hear me fine? Closer? There we go. Okay, thanks. So I want to thank everybody for coming out today. It's a real special occasion for us. And before I really get started here, though, I wanted to relate something that's really weird that kind of happened to me on the way over here. This morning, as I was driving along the road, you know how you're going along the road and all of a sudden you kind of catch something out of the corner of your eye, you know, and I'm going along the road and I look over there and there's a chicken. And it's running alongside the road, right beside the car. And I'm looking at this chicken and wow, that's a pretty fast chicken. You know, we're going alongside the car. And I thought, well, I don't want to hit it, so I better, you know, speed up a little bit. So I was speeding up. And the chicken kept pace with the car. Yeah, no, well, maybe. But anyway, so I'm following the chicken, and I'm looking at it, and I keep looking over there, and there's something really odd about this chicken. You know, and I'm looking, and finally it dawns on me, this chicken has 3 legs. And I'm looking at this chicken and 3 legs, and all of a sudden, it just put on this huge burst of speed, and it went zipping up and cut right in front of the car, and, you know, right across and up into this farm lane. And I'm there, wow, that's one fast chicken, you know? And so I had to stop, because I had never seen, I don't know about you, but I haven't seen any 3-legged chickens lately. But so anyway, I stopped, went up there, drove up the driveway of the lane, looking around, and got out, and didn't see anybody at first. But then the farmer came around the side of the barn, and I got out, and he introduced myself and said, sir, excuse me, you know, I don't mean to, you know, interrupt you or disturb anything, you know, here, but this weird thing just happened here. There's this chicken. And it ran right alongside the road, cut from the car, and ran right up your driveway. And I'm sure it had 3 legs. And I just wondered if you knew anything about this. So the farmer says, yeah, I know all about that. It's my chicken. I raise 3-legged chickens. I'm there, you raise 3-legged chickens? And he said, well, yeah. Whatever gave you that idea? He said, well, let me ask you a question. You like drumsticks? Well, yeah, I like drumsticks. How about your wife? She like drumsticks? Yeah, she likes drumsticks too. Well, say we have a guest come over, you know, the kid, neighbor, they like drumsticks? Yeah, they like drumsticks too. Okay, well, see, there you go. You got 3 drumsticks and 1 chicken. Enough for everybody. You don't have to fight over them. It's, you know, you're all set. And I'm there, well, yeah, okay, I can see your point. You know, it's a pretty good idea. But let me ask you this, well, how do they taste? And the farmer said, well, we don't know. We never caught one. Sometimes it just seems like in the farm preservation program, you know, we don't ever, we're chasing that chicken, but we don't quite catch it. You know, there's always one more farm. There's always a few more acres. You know, every time you preserve a farm, another one pops up on the waiting list. But we're not going to stop. You know, we're going to keep going until we do catch the chicken, and we preserve all the farms. and all the acres that everybody wants to have preserved here in Lebanon County. So we're going to keep working on it. No matter how fast that chicken is, we're going to catch it eventually. But in the meantime, I just want to thank everyone here and everybody that's responsible for reaching our 20,000 acre milestone here in the county. It's a real achievement. And I just want to start off with our state officials, the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture, Secretary Redding, and unfortunately I guess he couldn't be here today. But we do have Doug Wolfgang from the State Farm Preservation Board. Thanks for coming. And then I want to move on to our elected officials, Senator Chris Gephardt, Senator, he's here, and our representatives. We have Russ Diamond, Frank Ryan, and Sue Helm. Thank you all for coming too. And of course, I can't forget our commissioners who've been very supportive and behind the program from the very beginning, and are really, really supportive and support the program. Ellen Litz, Bob Phillips, Michael Kuhn, and I do want to say, mention Bill Ames, who served on the district board for many, many years and was a big supporter, proponent of farmland preservation. And I'd also like to thank all our local officials who continue to donate to the program every year. Some of them don't even have ag land in their municipalities, but they still contribute because they realize the importance of the farming and farmland to the whole community as a whole. So thank them too. I also want to thank our local Farm Preservation Board for all the work they do overseeing the program. And I also do want to mention too the Conservation District staff, especially Craig. They do all the administrative work for the program. They do all the visits, the surveys, the scoring, answer all your questions. They keep all that paperwork well in hand. So thank you guys for a job well done. And I'd also like to thank the Bollinger family for hosting the event today. Really appreciate it. You have a lovely farm here, and we're so pleased that you allowed us to, be here today to celebrate. And as important as all those folks are, the real reason we're here today is because of all the farmers and landowners who are participating in the program. And it doesn't matter, if you were the very first farm, or you're the 20,000th acre, or you've been on the waiting list for 10, 15 years. You're the backbone of the program. You're the ones that are really making the program a success. Because without people willing and wanting to preserve their farms, there wouldn't even be a program. So you recognize the value of agriculture and farming, not just as business and economics, but as a real culture and a way of life. And you understand all those benefits that brings to the community as a whole. So, again, I just want to thank you all for participating in the program, no matter what role you've played in it, because it is a real team effort. And the success is something I think that we could really all be proud of, what we've accomplished in the Farm Preservation Program here in Lebanon County. So again, thank you all for coming today. I appreciate all your hard work and support. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Paul.
Thank you, Randy. Okay, next we have Commissioner Ellen Litz, who's going to make a little presentation. She's the point person for the commissioners for the Preservation Board, and she's very helpful, and we're glad to have her on board. Ellen?
Thank you, Paul. And thank you everyone for coming out today, especially my colleagues, Bob Phillips and Mike Kuhn. I saw them both here. And all the farmers and all the Conservation District Board members and all the Ag Preservation Board members, our other elected officials, the Senator and our House of Representatives. Thank you all for coming out. But to get here, there's a history. And that history goes way back, starting with Bill Carpenter and Rosemary Swanger, who voted on the Farmland Preservation Board to get started. So I think they deserve recognition. And along the way, there were some other commissioners, Commissioner Feather and Commissioner Arnold that helped with the process. And I think, if I remember correctly, Senator Brightbill might have been in office then, so that was before our current senator. So, and I see Dave Sollenberger, he's been documenting this the whole way through, so thank you, Dave, for being here. There's so many people to thank, but the ones who have to, handle everything are at our district level would be our representatives to the Farmland Preservation Board. And the assignments over the years have changed, but today, Doug Wolfgang is here, and he was our very first farmland preservation guy that helped us guide through this, and now he is running the state program. Give Doug a great big hand. He set the bar very high, and just before everything started, we were talking about who were the guys that followed Doug, and I think Mark Chegwidden was next, and Angie Foltz is here. She handled the program for a while, and also now we have Craig Zemitis. Did I forget anybody? Chuck Wertz. Was he was the director though, right? He didn't do the farmland preservation program, did he? Or did he start out doing it? Before we hired someone, perhaps we should give Chuck Wertz a big round, because he was both the director, and I see another director that's here too. So thank you everybody for coming, and we had the state represented. But the point is, this was a team effort. We had municipalities donating money, we had the state matching the money, and we could not preserve all of this farmland without all of these people being involved. And the county commissioners recognize that, so if we can have a representative or two from the conservation district coming up here, we have a little certificate for you. Is that you? Okay. On behalf of the County of Lebanon, we want to congratulate and thank, that fell out of the corner there. We want to congratulate and thank the Conservation District for all their hard work in helping to keep this farmland preservation alive and on track. God bless you all.
Thank you, Joe Ellen. Next on our agenda is Representative Frank Rhine from the 101st Legislative District. Representative Rhine?
Russ and I are going to double team this one.
Okay, and Representative Russ Diamond as well. Excellent.
First of all, thank you all for being here. One of the great things about this farmland preservation, and my brother-in-law preserves his farm up in Luzerne County, is it really does protect the quality and the way of life for Lebanon County. Once you pave over farmland, you never get it back. And to all the farmers that dedicated so much of their time and their resources, thank you for doing this. I remember when the county was founded. Okay, you can. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there we go. For those of you who didn't laugh, I'm not quite that old. Ben Franklin was not quite the student everybody thought he was. But I just want to tell you, I'm speaking for both Russ and myself. Thank you so much. This is Russ District. I've been honored to serve with Russ with the past 6 years. This is my last term. So, Russ, thank you again for your friendship and your mentorship as well.
Good morning, everyone. I was talking with Curtis when I first got here, and he said, we were talking about due to the size of Lebanon County and the amount of agricultural land that we actually have in Lebanon County, 20,000 acres really is a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal, and it's very important. Not just because open space is pretty, and not just because we like to see cornfields, but because what Frank said is right. When you preserve farmland, you preserve our Lebanon County way of life and our Lebanon County values. I mean, this has long-reaching impacts into the future, far into the future. When I compare what I see in Lebanon County and our progress on farmland preservation with some neighboring counties where, they've paved over things. You never get that back. And quite frankly, that is our way of life. And, I'm working in Harrisburg on, and I got an innovative idea from somebody who's very close to this program about maybe a new funding mechanism for this that would give the county an option to opt into a funding program, not from the state, but funding that would be generated locally that you could turn right around and use for this purpose. Because I know we've got $7 million worth of farms that are on the list. And I keep going, where could we find $7 million? Well, maybe we can find an optional way for a county to raise that money locally and then put it right in the program. I'm working on that. We'll look forward to doing that next year. Or at least introducing that next year. But on behalf of the House of Representatives and Frank Ryan and myself and Sue Helm, who's not, I don't think Sue's here today, but Randall and Paul, I'd like to present you with this. Frank, hold that up.
There we go.
He's good for something.
Yeah, that's right. At my age, I'm thankful to be doing anything.
I'd like to present this certificate of recognition on behalf of the entire House of Representatives, because this is indeed an impressive milestone. And as I told Curtis earlier, we're about a third of the way of where we need to be. So another 40,000 acres and we'll be back, okay? All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Okay. Next okay, so a little bit of an add-on to the agenda. I'd like to ask Lori Brandt from the Lebanon Valley Chamber of Commerce to come up.
Good morning, everyone. We appreciate the opportunity for the Lebanon Valley Chamber to be present here. We understand that agriculture is a huge part of our county and our Lebanon Valley, and we really appreciate that. I get the honor and privilege to work with our Farm City Committee, which there are quite a few folks here today, and appreciate that opportunity because I do have strong rural roots, if not totally agricultural. I appreciate that, and we, as the Chamber, we kind of support that with the events and things that we do throughout the year, with being our Farm City, our farm breakfast that we do at the fair each year, and our farm tour, which we're doing actually in a few weeks in the northern part of the county. So we just appreciate that opportunity to be here. And we have a congratulations for the Bollinger family farm on the 20,000 acres preserved for over the 30 years. So we just want to congratulate you folks, and thanks for letting us be here today.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Lord. Okay, our next presenter or speaker is has already been mentioned a number of times. Doug Wolfgang, Bureau of Farmland Preservation Director for the state, and previously the point person here with the Conservation District. So there you go.
Hello everyone, such a pleasure to be here. For me, coming to Lebanon County is like coming home. As Joellen, thank you for that nice introduction, thank you. I got my roots here with my career. Right out of college in 1994, I administered the program from 1994 to 1998, and I've been with the Bureau of Farmland Preservation since 1998. But 20,000 acres, I mean, I'm so proud to be able to come back and tout that milestone. You know, from a state perspective, Pennsylvania leads the nation in farmland preservation. We're up to over 6,000 farms and over 600,000 acres now that are preserved through perpetual easements. It's an amazing feat when you think about those permanent land use decisions that were made in a period of 30-some years. You know, we continue to lose farmland at a dramatic rate. In fact, the latest ag census indicates that we lost 6,000 farms across the state from 2012 to 2018 alone. So it's just really imperative that we continue this work of preserving farmland. Often asked, we're the model, you know, Pennsylvania is for the rest of the nation in how we protect our farmland, and we're often asked about why we're so successful or what are the reasons for doing that, and there are many reasons. But it's the strong partnerships between all levels of government and nonprofit organizations that we have here in Pennsylvania, federal funds, state, county, municipal, land trust organizations, support by our local government officials, the county commissioners who year after year contribute funds to the program for state match, support by our lawmakers for keeping our dedicated sources of funding year after year. We have cigarette taxes and environmental stewardship funds that we've always counted on to keep this program moving forward and to get those funds out to the counties. Support by the public. Anytime farmland preservation is put on the ballot for approval, an initiative of like a bond referendum. We've had the original bond back in 1987, then we had Growing Greener 1, Growing Greener 2. Always by a wide margin, those bond referendums are approved. The public supports preserving farmland in a period of time where it seems there's a lot of divisive issues that we're dealing with. It seems that everyone can agree that it's important to protect farmland. That's so important, and it's so reassuring that what we're doing is going to impact future generations. This all really starts with the farmer, though. I think back to that first farm family, the Aaron family in Lancaster County, that was the first of the 6,100 farms now that have been preserved. But the leap of faith it must have been back in 1989 to sign that agreement of sale with so much uncertainty, not knowing what the future would be like. But wow. Look at how many farms followed over the next 33 years and where we are today. And for participating farm families like the Bollingers, farmland is a farmer's legacy, and farming is the most noble profession on earth. We all rely on farmers and on agriculture for our very existence. And this program not only ensures that prime farmland will be available for future generations, but these funds are reinvested into the ag economy. Farm owners will expand or diversify. They'll do value-added production. They'll buy new equipment. They'll start up agritourism activities, and agritourism is booming across the state right now. Now they'll reduce debt, and in some cases they'll also use it as a tool to transition the farm to the next generation. Some are century and bicentennial farms. Some have been in the same family for 200 years, and others are new and beginning farmers. You can no longer, preserved farm owners are our neighbors. You can no longer drive through rural Lebanon County or central Pennsylvania or the southeastern part of the state in particular without passing a preserved farm. 6,000 farm families across the state who arrived at that decision to preserve their farms. And of course the farms here are diverse. One of the strengths of agriculture in Pennsylvania is the diversity in what we produce. From hemp to hops, mushrooms to maple syrup, everything in between. The diversity is really a special thing, and preserving these farms in perpetuity is a big deal. Preserved farm owners, this is one of the best parts of the story I like to tell, are true conservationists, as you all know. Thousands of acres of cover crops, no-till, conservation tillage, riparian buffers, grassed waterways, stream bank fencing. And these practices, of course, improve soil health, and soil is a vital living ecosystem that sustains us all. So really that's what this program is about, protecting that resource. Each preserved farm, of course, is required to have a conservation plan that addresses all soil, water, and nutrient concerns on the farm. That work is carried out by Craig in the Conservation District here, and farmers across the state have done an amazing job with putting best management practices on their farms, and that's especially critical, of course, in the Chesapeake Bay watershed, where so much emphasis is placed on protecting water quality. But farmers are the best stewards of the land. I get that. I grew up in Schuylkill County, just north of here, on a grain farm that's preserved. But back in the 1980s, my dad was given an award as Conservationist of the Year by the Conservation District for doing several practices on the farm. But he took a lot of pride in that. And farmers sometimes will go their entire lives without getting recognition, and they work very hard. For him, this was a big deal and something he was very proud of, and he put that plaque on the mantle of our fireplace, and it stayed there for many years. So I get it. Farmers are some of the best conservationists and stewards of the land, so that's something that I really hold in high regard. As I mentioned, the reasons to continue preserving farmland are compelling from a food security standpoint. Where we're standing here in Lebanon County, we're within a day's drive of a large percentage of the nation's population that's always going to rely on a safe and abundant food supply. We have some of the most fertile, non-irrigated soils found anywhere in the nation or the world right here where we're standing. So protecting that resource, it goes without saying, is just so critical. Some of the vulnerabilities that existed in our food supply chain were brought to the forefront during the pandemic, and we were able to make that connection at several events during the pandemic between food security and protecting our land. There's a direct connection there. And of course, this program is an investment in the future of a thriving ag industry here in Pennsylvania. It's a $132.5 billion industry. These funds, as I mentioned, are cycled back into the ag economy. We're top 10 in a number of dairy and poultry operations, in fresh fruits and vegetables. We're second or third in the nation in direct marketing. We're also a leader in organic production, second only to California, I believe. So it's just such a big part of our industry and way of life here. Won't go on, much more. Just want to say that I'm so grateful to be here and just to be able to be part of this celebration and come full circle at this stage of my career and come back here and be able to talk to you all and congratulate you all for 20,000 acres is just really a proud moment. So thank you all for what you do, and just if there's anything we can do for you at the state level to help carry out this work for the next 20,000 acres, please let us know. We look forward to continuing that partnership. Thank you all, and thank you for making Pennsylvania a national leader.
Thank you, Doug. Next, we would like to recognize the Bollinger family for their contribution to the program in the 20,000th acre. And we would like to invite up Curtis Martin from the Agricultural Land Preservation Board. He's vice chairman. He's been chairman, very knowledgeable, and has been very helpful in the program. Curtis?
Thank you, Paul. It's excuse me. It was an honor and a privilege to be asked to introduce the Bollinger family, and I felt appropriately so. I have a long connection to the family. Don's parents, Paul and Ethel Bollinger, were good friends with my parents. They were neighboring farmers in Clay Township, and they were fellow church members. So I've known Don my memorable life, and then he married my second cousin. So there's, the connections are there the way it happens in Lebanon, Lancaster County. Known the family a long time, and they're just another step in the many farms that have been required to get to the 20,000 acres, but have to express appreciation for their willingness to open it up today, opening their farm up today for us to come and enjoy the beautiful scenery and relatively pleasant weather. It could have been a hurricane. We've been able to I'm just going to go back to Paul and Ethel a little bit. I don't know how many people know this story. You might hear more later. They were living on a multiple generation ancestral farm in northern Clay Township, which was taken over by Project 70, better known as Middle Creek Wildlife, and they were forced off their farm against their will many years ago. And I remember as a young boy, it was a rather traumatic event in my parents and their lives at that point, having to give up the farm. And this farm was available. When they moved up here, it was a work of love getting this farm into a good productive level again, and the Bollinger family should be commended for that. Before I get to the family, there's two of Paul and Ethel's sons here, Marlon and Eugene. They can raise their hand if they wish. They're to the back there. Don and Sharon, the current owners, and he'll be speaking next. Justin and Brandon are their sons. I'm not sure. I guess Justin and his wife live here, and there's 6 grandchildren. So there is roots being put down here again. Third generation living in the farm now. So again, I'd like to thank the Bollinger family, and I think it's right now my responsibility to introduce Don. He has a few words to say. Here he comes.
Good morning, and thank you for everybody who came to the celebration. I am not the best speaker, I'll tell you that right from the start, but I have a little food for thought. For any Pennsylvania farmer who is debating whether they should sell their farm for development versus preserving it for agriculture use, yes, it's a given. To sell your farm for development, there's much more wealth in doing that versus preserving it for agriculture. But I would encourage any farmer from Pennsylvania to consider future generations and preserve your farm for agriculture so that they have food to put on their table like we enjoy food on our tables. Again, I thank you for joining us in this celebration.
Okay, Mr. Bollinger, if you could stay up here for just a moment, I believe we have yes, we'll do that next. If you want to stay close to the front.
Thanks, Paul. Welcome, everyone. They asked me, my name's Justin Bollinger. My wife, Becky, and I live here with our 3 kids, Jaden, who is 8, Jaron, who is 6, and you can probably hear him, even though he's on the other side of the house, and our daughter, Reese, who's 3. I was asked to share a few words about the history of the farm, and Curtis alluded to it. I mean, the history of our preservation story, how we came to this point, really goes back a couple generations, and Curtis mentioned my grandparents' story being a multi-generation farm in the Middle Creek Wildlife Management Area. The farm there had been in our family going back to the time of the Civil War. And so we counted it, if we would be preserving that farm today, I think my kids would be the 9th generation. And that was tough for them, and I wasn't alive for any of it, but the emotions were still really, really raw and really real, that there was a house and farmhouse and a way of life that they were displaced from. In 1966, May of 1966, the Declaration of Taking was filed, and my grandparents fought through the court system, did not prevail, and a deed to the Pennsylvania Game Commission was conveyed in August of 1970. And September 16th of 1970, they came to a farm sale in southern Lebanon County here, and signed conditions of sale to buy this farm in September of 1970 and settled thereafter. So as we are celebrating here the 20,000th acre here with the farm, recognize that my kids are technically the 4th generation to be here, but if we count and go back to the more ancestral land that my grandparents knew and farmed, and my grandfather was born in the house, and his mother was born in the house, and her father was born in the house, and I could go back. Those are stories that if we don't preserve these places, get lost. My great-grandmother grew up on a farm, and her sisters each had farms next to her. And so collectively probably over 750, 800 acres. And family units that worshipped together and worked together and lived together were displaced, sent, to various places. Some of them got out of farming, some of them moved out of the area. And so when we think about just preserving these places, not just as Frank shared, so they don't become paved under asphalt, but so we can maintain the communities and the families that make these spaces unique. And that's part of our family's preservation story, which I think is important for us to hear. Farmland preservation was not in existence then. And for those of you that don't know, by profession, I practice law. And so there's an additional layer of review anytime a preserved farm is subjected to a taking under eminent domain. Who knows what would have happened to my grandparents' farm had that been in place. The state usually prevails, as we know. But we know that that these types of things, these additional protections, right to farm law, additional layers of review for preserved farm owners are exceedingly important to keep these places in existence for future generations, not only for consistent supply of food that's local, as my father shared, but more importantly, so that this way of life is maintained and these spaces are available. I can get emotional talking about it, but the other day, my middle son Jaron said, "Dad, it's just beautiful here. Can I stay here when I grow up?"
That's wonderful.
And I don't even work on the farm, and it makes me emotional talking about it, because I can remember putting a hay away with my grandpa on 90-degree days in the mow, and all the great things that he imparted to me and my dad and my parents, and just the lessons here that I learned and hope to pass on. So, sorry. So thanks for coming today. This is an important day for our family, important day for the farm. My grandparents have both passed on, and I'm confident that this is what they would have wanted. So thank you all for coming, and congratulations to Lebanon County for preserving its 20,000th acre.
Thank you, Justin. I don't think anybody would doubt that you practice law by the way you speak. Very good. Thank you. That's meant as a compliment. All right. Okay. Mr. Bollinger, if you could come up as well, please. And Randy, if you could come up as well. We'd just like to present the Bollinger family with just a little certificate of appreciation for what they've done. And I think it's pretty obvious that farming is very important to them, and we're glad that they're here to be the ones to help us celebrate this. So thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Craig, for reminding me. If you could come back up, please. Sorry. You both were so good, want to keep you up here as long as possible. So we have a photo of the farm, which we would like to present to you. If you could just go ahead and hold that. I've got too much stuff in my hands here. So. All right, you just hold that up so everybody can see. It's a beautiful photograph, framed nicely, that we'd like to present to you for this event. Okay? Thank you very much. Okay. Now we're going to show the 30th anniversary video, and we'd like to ask Dale Hoover, member of the Lebanon County Agricultural Land Preservation Board, to come up and introduce the video.
Thank you, Paul. In 2017, at our 25th anniversary, David Sollenberger was commissioned to put together a video highlighting farms, people over the 25 years, and he did a great job. Dave Sollenberger is here today. He's a professional videographer, and he did all that work with hardly any cost to Lebanon County Farmland Preservation. This is 5 years later, so we've updated some numbers in the presentation, and we'll watch that now.
Same opportunity. It's that way with most professions, but especially for those who enjoy life on Lebanon County's farms.
It's in my blood. That's all we've ever done. It's all my family's ever done. I like to raise cattle and also raise crops. It's something that I always did it's always been my lifestyle. That's what I enjoy doing.
Farming's what I do, it's my life, and we're passionate about farming.
Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and Harrisburg and Scranton, they're the ones who said yes to the initial referendum and the indebtedness of this state of $100 million.
Once the program was set up, Lebanon County Commissioners kicked in $50,000 of county funds to start enrolling farms in the program. Doug Wolfgang was the first administrator of the program.
It was still to this day one of the best jobs I've ever had, just because of the grassroots support and passion for the program that I experienced with not only the county board but the staff at the County Conservation District. They were one of a handful of counties that initially had the program, and back in those days it was new. And so for farm owners to earn the trust and the respect of the farming community, it took a lot of outreach on the part of the County Conservation District, the county commissioners, the county, the farming community, and they embraced the program.
Tim Sheffy served as the Ag Preservation Board's chairman for 28 years.
Always was something that I wondered about, is there a way that we could maintain the farming community, because I thought it was a real beneficial part of the community. And when the county commissioners developed the program and they requested people to volunteer to become involved, I pretty much jumped at the opportunity because I wanted to see the agricultural part of our county preserved.
Sheffy and others say there's been remarkable support for farm preservation.
I've actually only ever had one person give me a hard time about preserving farmland. And so you're never going to please everyone, and everyone is entitled to their opinion, but I think the overwhelming majority of people appreciate that we are preserving farmland in Lebanon County.
That may be because studies show that farms require far less government services than residential areas.
We're not putting in sidewalk, we're not sending kids to school in this 100 acres, so above all, the savings to townships and schools is there because that land is going to be farmed and not create amenities that need tax money thrown at it to maintain and keep building.
Not that it's an easy decision, even for those deeply committed to keeping their farm in agriculture.
We know that when we give up the development rights, we don't get the financial reimbursement that could be brought in if you sold the development. That potential money isn't there.
But Patches and others who have preserved their farms say it's about more than money.
You can start thinking now, okay, this land's preserved, what can I do to make it the next generation? It's no longer a mindset of, well, maybe I can sell this for a mint to whoever for whatever. That's gone. And you start to realize, okay, now that it's preserved, I only have one option. And it's a good option. It's the best option.
For Darren Grumbine, his preserved farm means that his two sons will be able to maintain the family tradition of farming.
I think it's a good idea to preserve our agricultural heritage for the next generation. The things that happen on these farms, the way the kids grow up and what they learn, really can't be replaced any other place. And when we take the farmland and we develop it, then we lose that opportunity to raise the next generation of future leaders. If the boys desire to farm, it would be great if they would take it over, but that's totally up to them.
Both of Grumbine's teenage sons are actively involved in the farming operation, doing as much tractor work as any hired hand.
As a young person working on the farm, it's something I want to do for the rest of my life, so I want to know that there's going to be something there for me when I get older and am able to take over the operation, hopefully in the foreseeable future.
I'd like my kids to be able to grow up and have the experiences on the farm the same as I did when I was growing up. I think it's a very nice lifestyle.
At this point, Lebanon County has preserved some 20,000 acres of farmland on 226 farms. The green on these maps illustrates the farms that are preserved at this point. In some townships, a significant percentage of their land. But it all comes down to funding.
Well, right now there are approximately 28 farms that are on the waiting list, and I think there are 4 other farms hoping to be placed upon the waiting list. We'd love to be able to do all of them. That would be great. That would cost a little over $7 million, 7.2.
Is that realistic?
No, that's not realistic at this point in time.
For now, state funding for the program remains steady, bolstered by municipalities in Lebanon County that contributed $100,000 in 2022 to help purchase easements. Those funds, when combined with Lebanon County's contribution of $117,000, were matched by state funding to the tune of $1.39 for every dollar this year raised locally, resulting in more than $500,000 to keep the program going.
And it can't be overstated how important county contributions have been to the success of this program.
I mean, without the county contribution, we couldn't make it happen.
Across the state, counties have contributed about $584 million since the beginning of the program, a program that ensures that farming will continue to be a viable way of life in Lebanon County.
Hats off to the founders of the land preservation program. They were thinking long term, took great wisdom and great effort to make it happen, and we appreciate that.
We just knew it was the right thing to do. Hopefully somebody in the family takes over the farm and it's there for them, and we do have a passion for preserving farmland.
It's pretty special, and to know that you're relied upon by many people to get their food on the table, it's just definitely something that you think about every day, and it's the reason you do what you do.
Lebanon County's farm preservation program, like those in 57 other Pennsylvania counties, ensures that the farming heritage so valuable to Pennsylvania's economy will continue, that farms with high-quality soil will continue to produce crops. The signs along the highway that mark the 226 Lebanon County farms that have been preserved so far bring a smile to the face of those who appreciate the commitment to agriculture that they represent.
Because I know it's not a decision that anybody who has done it takes lightly, but we're all who have done it are looking to the generations to follow. And because we made it a really important decision and a critical decision, because we have said what it is that we want that farm to be forever, irrespective of my ownership or my work on the farm. It will forever remain in agriculture. So I smile every time I see it and say thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation, Craig, and everybody who had a part in putting that video together. At this point, we're going to conclude this part of the program. I'd like to thank everybody who has participated and all the presentations. They have been very nice. Again, I'd like to put in a plug for the silent auction. Once we conclude here, if you could go over and take a look and make a bid, and remember you do need to be present in order to collect if you're the successful bidder. I'd also like to thank Willie Weiler, who donated the pig for lunch today, and Tyler Hagee, who was the one who smoked the pig. So, okay, it'll be here soon. All right. Okay, so just to whet your appetite. Okay. So at this point, I'd like to invite Dan Kreider to come up for the invocation for the luncheon.
Thank you. Before I pray, Russ was thinking of ways to fund this better, and I think I have an idea for you guys. You just go back and say, farmland preservation will fight climate change. We'll get all the money we need. So give that a try.
Why didn't I think of that?
If we would have preserved 40,000 acres by now, we probably wouldn't have had that hurricane in Florida we just had. So,
That's going to my TikTok video.
Justin and the Bollingers, thank you for hosting a beautiful place here. Let me pray before we have our meal, all right? Dear Lord, we thank you for for the beautiful and productive land that you blessed us with. We ask that we will be good stewards with it and pass it on to the next generation better than we got it. We just thank you for everyone who's here today and everyone who may not be here today who had a part in reaching this milestone. We pray that we will continue to be successful with this program. Thank you for all the landowners who are willing to maybe not do what's best financially, but look ahead longer term and do what's best for maybe their family or the land. I thank you for that sacrifice they're willing to make. We just ask you to be with our country and our leaders, and we ask that we have safety as we travel here today, and I pray we have a good time and good fellowship as we partake in this meal, and we thank you for everyone who had a part in today and making the meal. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.